Well, hi folks, and welcome to the October update for Megalithic tours. Now we're actually over here on the Menorca tour. Absolutely beautiful island of Menorca, and the sights here are just unbelievable. I keep telling people these sights are so incredibly impressive, different than anywhere else. Behind we've got a Towler. Now you don't get those anywhere else, and that's Catalan for table basically. Amazing sights. So anyway, as far as tours for the rest of this year, there's only really 3, and they're all in December because the others are booked up now. So in December, first of all, we've got a weekend from the 7th of December, and that's to Rosslyn Chapel, the Ballantradoch temple site for the Knights Templar sites, and Lindisfarne, and we're staying at a wonderful location as well. So that's from the 7th of December, just for the 2 days. Leaving from Preston, returning to Preston sort of 7 o'clock-ish, so time to get a train back to London or back to the south or up to Scotland, wherever you come from. And the second tour is Glastonbury for the winter solstice, so having a change this year. And that's on the 21st, I believe, of December, and it's for 3 days. So we'll be driving down and stopping off at Stanton Drew Stone Circle, or set of sites in Bristol, maybe a meal at the Druids Arms, and then into Glastonbury. We're a full day free on the winter solstice day, so you can just take in the shops and the bookshops, all the spiritual shops and crystals, all that sort of thing. Or you could get up early and go up the tour if you feel that way inclined. And we're stopping at the G&P as well, at the Georgian Pilgrim, so that's always a special experience just on its own. And the last tour, no interest yet, but it's for the New Year tour to Brittany, Brittany's Côte d'Azur, for a week from the 27th. So you get over Christmas with your family, and then if you're going to be alone at New Year, why not join this tour? I'm going to keep it on until the end of October probably, and then if nobody showed any interest, I think I'll cancel it, and I can go somewhere on my own, can't I? But I would like to run the tour, so if you're interested in it, just have a look at the website. Everything's on the website, megalithictours.com. All the information's there, my contact details are there, and also you can book from there. Anyway, I'll show you some sights around the island of Menorca. So all you people who don't believe in it, it's an amazing place. I'll try to do about 10 minutes or so of sights, and then you can see for yourself what they're like. And I think you'll agree they really are quite incredible. Especially this one here, this is one of the Towler, like I said. There's Talliots, the towers. There's Towlers, which are these big T monuments, which are always inside like a horseshoe enclosure. All the little villages have those. And there's also Navtas, which are the upturned boats, that's what it means in Catalan. And they on Menorca, they're used basically as funeral areas. So that's it from the updates, but just stay tuned or watch on for the sites. Some of the few sites that the type of sites that are different on Menorca, one of them is the Navtas. Now this just means overturned boat in Catalan, and they're actually used as burial chambers on the island here. The only other place you've got anything like it is on Menorca, and they were used as living accommodation, but for some reason on Menorca there are funeral places. So these are called Raphael Ruby. There's 2 Navtas here. This is the first one, Raphael Ruby one. The top has been taken off, this one, because it would have gone to a point, so it would have looked like an upturned boat. And inside they said there's 2 levels of 2 floors. I've just been in, believe it or not, I just climbed in through that hole, but there you go, that's inside. Here we have it, Raphael Ruby number 1 and Raphael Ruby number 2. There it is, same sort of idea. Still the top's been lapped off it again. There's the doorway. Maybe we'll have a look inside. So there we go, that's the way in. This is the inside. You can see that there's two layers. There's the top layer. There's a great big huge stones all the way around, and there's the other side of the second floor. So really quite substantial buildings. And the ceiling holes in it now, but of course there would have been more stones up there before, covering the top. See, there's a bit of light coming through there. But anyway, these are the nafters. Definitely something worth seeing on Menorca. So in the zoo there's a nafta as well, which is pretty standard, like the Raffle Ruby sites, but if you're in the area or on the tour, definitely worth seeing. So in Trapuco you get probably the best idea of what a towler and a talliot, how they would have worked together, or how they were in some way connected to each other. Because again here, this is probably the biggest tower on the island, and right behind it is the talliot, and you can see the two together. I'll just spin this round to get a better picture. So there's the towler, right behind it is the talliot. Another good thing about the talliot at Trapuco is that you can really see the cyclopic wall system. These huge boulders. It's pity the top's been lopped off, but never mind. And of course right behind, you know what we've got in the sun? The Towler. So this is one of the lesser known sites which we always come to, because one thing is there's not so many people here, there's just our group. That's the talliot there, that's the tower of what's left of it. The top's been locked off there. Well, this is a really good tower enclosure. There we go, that's the tower. It's really thin, but it's been still stood there since early Bronze Age. And it's a little enclosure as well. The enclosure is being closed off because that tower is so thin. It looks like if you just lean on it, it's going to fall over. But they've also got the housing nearby, or the remains of the housing, the circular houses. There's a great little site, but like I say, not one that people generally come to visit. So there are also cave sites around Menorca. This is one of the biggest ones. It's called an Acropolis, and it echoes. Don't know how this is going to sound, but it definitely echoes. It says necropolis, but whether this was to just a burial or whether people lived here as well, I feel it was probably a home as well. It certainly seems that. So right next door to it is an even bigger cave system. In fact, the whole thing could be said called one massive cave system, because it seems like there are many of them right along the side of the cliff here. Not easy to get to, the stairs being put in place. It's right out, main entrance there. So this is called a hyper-style hall. I think the idea was that they used to just use it as a storage facility. But what is interesting are these pillars holding up the, well, are they holding up the roof? They're holding these huge slabs in position. Remind me a little bit of Megalithic. Not that I've been to Glicky Tippy, but I've seen the pictures of them. They've got these shaped supports. Maybe let me know if I'm wrong, for people to, if anybody's ever been there. But there's loads and loads and loads of caves and underground living facilities and storage facilities all over the island in different sites. A lot of these T-shaped rocks here form the roof of this little cave. Whether this would have been, okay, a small house, I suppose, enclosure. It's got its own water supply there. So whether this is what it would have been like in the Bronze Age, I'm not sure, but there's the entrance. But it just shows whether that, you know, could well have been roof slabs. So Song Kotler is one of the biggest, well, it is the biggest on the island, the biggest ruin. You can see this wall is Cyclopean. Really good example of that. You've got all the orthostats that stick up with the top layer, very much like Malta actually. So here's another Towler. This one's a little bit different there because I think it's because it's capstone there. It's so wide at the top. It's not been able to keep itself in position. So at some point, somebody has added a pillar at the back to hold it up. Whether this was done at the time that they built the Towler or later on to preserve it, I'm not sure. I think later on, because I think they would have, if they built it at the beginning, they would have made that so it fit without the extra little stone at the top. Anyway, the Towler enclosure is pretty much gone. You can see that these little stones round it would have been the outskirts of the Towler enclosure. Like I say, unfortunately that's disappeared, but that's just good to see so many of these different, well, different types of Towler. Like I said, they're nowhere else, just on Menorca. So yet another Towler and Talliot site, another little village. There's the remains of the Talliot up on the hill there, overlooking what was the town. And I've stood in a rather unusual Towler enclosure. There's the back wall. You can see in places that it's been built up, so it's definitely an enclosure. It's also a lovely olive enclosure as well. So surrounded by olive trees, and to prove it's a Talliot enclosure, there's one Talliot, sorry Towler, getting all built up now, and over here is, strangely, a second one. But the question, and that is, what are these absolutely huge rocks doing down here? They're massive, and they kind of form a little square enclosure, but what that means, absolutely no idea. Well, this is lovely. It's kind of hidden away, like I see this little olive grove. One Towler and another Towler. Amazing. So this is another small, well, another building really, in a different, this is kind of in the south of the island. It's a different place altogether. I'm not quite sure whether it's a Towler enclosure here, because it looks a bit like it. It's got the side struts there with the tops on, and it's got the orthostats in the wall here. So those would have been used very early on as the main structure of the wall. Now, if it was a Towler enclosure, that means this structure here was the once had a capstone on it, very much like the side chamber, so the side orthostat. So I don't know. It's a really fascinating little building. There's the entrance is interesting as well, because you've got these side chambers or niches at both sides, and then you've got the two side posts that look like they probably had something above them, and then this sort of lower cross section as well. So what the door was actually like, or whatever the enclosure looked like when it was finished, you can only guess. And I think it was probably like in Malta, where you have the whole shape of the where you can place a wooden panel in to close as a closure. So that's the place we just come out of. Very strange that it's actually got square corners on it. But most of the buildings in Menorca are round like this one is here. Very interesting building over there. I'll have a quick look at that before we go. And you can see on top of these structures there's the Taliot. Nearly complete but not quite. There's always as well these necropoli or just caves or whatever. So whether that was the early living quarters, or it was a storage area, or it was, I don't know, a place for people to be buried. Probably not that, it's too near the centre of town. But it looks like they all seem to have these, so maybe they were the early place, the first place that they inhabited. Another huge building over there, again with square corners. Interesting. A bit of a one-off. Now this building I do like. I like the way all the pillars are still standing, to give you an idea of what it would have been like. Was there a roof on it? Did it hold some sort of roof, or is that just fanciful? But we know there would have been some sort of capstones that were on the top, which would have kind of possibly held some sort of roof. If it's a tower enclosure, then the central, that huge block in the middle there, would have been the capstone for the tower. But I don't know. So the answer to why there's corners has been found. This is another corner put onto the Taliot, and all Taliots are round, and this structure here is all put on the back of what I thought maybe the last place we looked, the Taliot tower enclosure. But we know now, because we've seen this, now that would have been changed by the Romans. So obviously there were places being resettled by the Romans, and they're like corners. So that's the answer to that little riddle. Now this is a totally different sort of site. It seems a little bit nearer to the excavation stage. It's a long, thin one. It goes quite a long way down. Lots of different rooms with sort of solid bedrock. It was again, it was started off in the Bronze Age, 2000 BC to 1500 BC, and then later occupied by the Romans. So that's why we've got these straight edges. I'm intrigued with this building a little bit further up, so we'll go and head up there now and have a look. This is an intriguing little building here. We're actually just a little bit further down the site than we were. Loads of huge pillars that are leading in, some still in the situ. Well, this is the back of the room, the room or the building I was talking about, with all the orthostats in a row. Kind of familiar to anybody who's been to Malta, that sort of thing. You're starting to see slight similarities here. There you go, the full extent of the site as it goes down the hill. So don't forget, folks, 2 tours in December. We've got Rosslyn Chapel and Lindisfarne, and over the winter solstice, the sites around Glastonbury and Glastonbury at the solstice. Oh, and don't forget, all the tours for the first half of next year, 2025, are already posted on the site. So go and have a look over there. That's Megalithic Tours
menorca.com.